Good morning, everybody.
Howdy.
Welcome to our home this beautiful Sunday morning.
Coffee's already gone, so now I've switched to tea.
Yeah, and we got some good things this morning.
Yeah, we want to really thank the unknown apostate for this, right?
Deep throat.
Deep throat. Oh. Well, you know, we work so closely with these two guys, I get confused easily as to who sends us this stuff. But you know what? I wonder which one of these two guys is going to come out first.
I don't know.
Time will tell.
I don't know.
But I want to tell both Deep Throat and the Unknown Apostate and Atlantis. It's truly the source. It's truly a pleasure working with you guys. You know, I love you guys a lot. I just cannot thank you enough for the amount of work that you're doing for us.
Yes.
And it's truly a privilege to be the face in front of the camera, because when you really think about how movies are done, you've got the actor in front of the camera, but really the brilliance becomes the writers, the guys and the people doing the research, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we got behind because, you know, quite a few have been sending us, not only Deep Throat and Unknown Apostate and Atlantis. They have sent us so much that I just, you know, it's going to take me a while to go through all this. But
and we do. We appreciate everything that everybody
and Atlantis and his family. Oh my goodness, the amount of time and sacrifice they spend, you know, sending all this information and, you know, doing all this work.
So really, Kim and I are just the two knuckleheads in front of the camera, the puppets in front of the camera, the true thanks, the true thanks just goes to the people behind us that is helping us expose Watchtower. And so, speaking of behind the scenes and making movies, that just so happens to be the topic of today's video.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe this, you know, when I started watching this. So I think let's play the first clip.
Yeah.
My dear brothers of the governing body, the purpose of me writing this letter is to thank you for the marvelous gift of the new DVD.
I was overwhelmed with tears to receive such a wonderful gift.
How do you make the movies about Jehovah?
Movies bring out the kid in all of us.
They can transform us to another place, another time.
So, how do we make the movies about Jehovah?
Well, it takes a team of willing volunteers.
But these videos can only be produced by Jehovah's Spirit and blessing.
Here's a few examples of how this is accomplished.
Filming a chase scene in New York City takes a lot of planning and a lot of coordination. We had to have cooperation from the New York City police. We had to get film permits. We had to hold parking, which in New York City is very difficult to do.
So a week prior to the shooting deadline, we had all the permits we needed, and we get a phone call from the mayor's office saying it's been declared a hotspot. Declaring a neighborhood a hotspot means that no movie company can go in there because the neighborhood has had too many film shoots in the area. They want privacy for a little while, and then they can have you come back. This was on a Thursday that it was declared a hotspot by the mayor's office, and we knew that we had to start shooting on Monday at 7 p.m., and they made it very clear, you're not going to get this permit. It's a no-go. We never make exceptions. And had that happened, the release probably would have been delayed at least a year. So we asked, is it possible that you could give us this permit if we don't take up any parking, we leave the streets empty? Would that be okay with you? And they said, okay, we'll think about it, but you'll find out on Monday. So Monday morning, 8 o'clock comes, there's no call from the mayor's office. Finally, at 4 o'clock, the mayor's office called and said, you're go for tonight.
So the script called for us to have the characters leave a bar, David and Al, and they get into a car, David reluctantly, Al takes the keys from him. They go driving, Al runs a red light, and the police then follow, tries to evade the police, ends up crashing the car. He runs, David gets caught and arrested. Now, that's the way it was written. We had to actually add flesh to that. How do we do this in New York City? Well, no one location worked.
Although it's always better to film on location, it's not always possible because of logistical reasons. So when David and Al walk out of Pete's Tavern, that's actually a set that was built inside of a building. And to create that type of a set, of course, took a lot of planning. It took visits to actual taverns to see what the ambience was, how their signs were placed, what colors they used, the aging of an older tavern, how we could create that in a movie set. So we were able to take all of our different ideas and put that into Pete's Tavern so that when you're in there, you feel like you're in the real place.
Wow. Wow. Several things with this one.
The new directions Watchtower's going in, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. So let's see. I'm going to mention Deep Throat's comments here. It says, how do you make the movies about Jehovah?
Because remember, that little kid asked it in the letter.
Yeah. And he says, the movies aren't about Jehovah, and they're not movies either. They are short video clips. Watchtower movies are about the governing body, Caleb and Sophia constantly being reprimanded for not being dutiful slaves of Watchtower.
Child labor.
Yeah. A bunch of Bethel dipshits making asses of themselves, dancing to worldly music. We know what,
we know what that's all about. Happy, oh no, shake, 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 da-da-da-da-da, shake, 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 da-da-da-da-da, shake your booty, shake your booty.
Watchtower propaganda to entice young ones to give up their dreams and be slaves over Watchtower. Yeah, especially this one, the prodigal son.
I could have had a promising baseball career.
And
I gave that up.
Nothing of real value. And he says they aren't about Jesus either. He doesn't get so much as a mention in any of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so for my comments is at 3 minutes, they're spending money to build movie sets. And I know you had mentioned something about that.
Well, you know, being a cabinet, custom cabinet builder myself, when I look at, well, when I listen to how the Jehovah's Witnesses are explaining how all of this is done, they built a movie set, okay? So when you look at the inside of the bar, just before we come in for our comments, look at the amount of woodwork in that bar alone. Now, I have, in my cabinet building profession, I have actually built bars. I know how expensive that is. Even with free labor, even with discounts on wood, it's still very time consuming and it's still very expensive because you still have to pay for the electricity, you still have to pay for the sanding material, you have to feed the workers also. See? And I'm sure that OSHA, Watchtower still has to follow OSHA rules and regulations about working so many hours a day, having so many breaks through the course of the day. So even at that, building a bar like that, guarantee you would cost minimum of about $5,000. That's just the minimum.
Yeah. Well, then in the video they say that visiting real taverns to get the ambience. Okay, so that means that they sent a bunch of Bethelites to real taverns, paying their bar bill.
Yeah, who paid that bar tab? Volunteer donations? Come on.
Obviously. So then
think about it.
Deep Throat's comment, he says, in order to recreate Pete's Tavern, some Bethel asshole had to make actual visits to taverns to experience the ambience. Really? In other words, a Bethelite, or 2, 3, or 10, will go hang out in local bars, throw back several tall ones, on Jehovah's dime, of course, and hang out with wicked, worldly people, all to get the right ambience for a 1-minute scene in a ridiculous Watchtower movie? He says,
I love you, Deep Throat.
I wonder if it would be okay for an active JW to hang out in whorehouses and doink, is that even a word?
Oh, yeah.
Doink prostitutes just to experience the ambience of what it's like to hang out in whorehouses and doink prostitutes?
Do you see how when you listen to what these guys say in producing products for their JW TV, how ridiculous they absolutely sound now.
And it's funny because obviously we all think alike.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's why we're such good friends with Deep Throat. We think alike.
When Kim told me about this first thing about how they went into a bar so they can get the ambiance, I come out and said, well, does that mean that I can go have an affair now on Jehovah's dime so that I know what it feels like to have an affair? So that I can get the ambiance of it? That's how ridiculous Watchtower has become.
So Deep Throat says, all that time and money spent on creating a tavern scene instead of being out in the ministry and teaching people about Jesus. Amazing. Yet when Watchtower involves itself in this kind of time and resource-wasting nonsense, it's acceptable. When average Joe publisher goes camping for the weekend, he's stolen 2 days from Jehovah and acted irresponsibly in these final last days. So how does an elaborate recreation of a bar promote the kingdom or the Bible or anything worthwhile? Zero.
Exactly. You talk about hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's interesting is when they're talking about how they wanted to film, you know, on these street scenes with the police cars and stuff, and they says, with Jehovah's blessing, you know, and they weren't able to film right when they wanted and all of this. Okay. Jehovah's blessing, and like Deep Throat says, you know, James Cameron and some of these other, you know, Steven Spielberg and stuff. Is it Jehovah's blessing that helps them, you know, get these things filmed? Okay, now I know for a fact, last month, that they were filming here in New Mexico in a small town. Now there's one highway between us and the city.
Or
one highway.
Or work on this particular morning because I didn't know they were filming.
Yeah. So there's one highway. They shut down a whole damn town to film for about a day and a half. I had to drive 10 miles on a rugged, rough ranch road. That's a tongue twister.
I know it.
To go around to get to the city to do grocery shopping.
I was actually late to work 10 minutes that first morning.
Because
I had to go. I actually had to backtrack 15 miles to get to work. Yeah. Now, was that Jehovah's blessing that they was able to shut down that town, stop traffic, inconvenience people from going to work? Oh yeah, that's a nice connection, Watchtower, that Jehovah blessed you the same way he blessed the people that were putting this movie together just 10 miles down the road, and I was inconvenienced and late for work. Yeah, that's a blessing from Jehovah, all right.
Yeah, and had to get the cooperation of the New York Police Department. They had the whole stinking sheriff's department for Torrance County.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
here.
Exactly.
Most of them were just standing around drinking coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
They just show up just to get coffee and donuts.
But, you know, it just shows the cult mentality, because the current Jehovah Witness that's going to watch this and going to say, oh, yeah, this is true. Well, you saw the letters. What a gift. What a gift from Jehovah. Well, is that the same kind of gift that leads you to believe that those that are disfellowshipped are being disciplined, when you're being ripped away from your family, when you can't say hi to your friends, or if you happen to see a brother that you had this wonderful relationship with this brother for 20 years, you went camping, you went hunting, well, hell, you may have even gone to a sports bar with this brother, then all of a sudden one day you get disfellowshipped, and you're walking down the road, and then the brother that was your friend does this. Is that the same God that's blessing this movie set, Jehovah's Witnesses? Is it? Answer my question. Is this the same God blessing your movies? The same God that tells you to do this when you've had a brother for 20 years decide to leave?
Or your own mom who hasn't talked to you for over 2 years.
So are we talking about the same God, Jehovah's Witnesses?
Next clip.
In order to make the scenes work, it was going to be necessary to have police cars. The difficult thing is you can't really just buy a police car. So we took 2 plain white branch vehicles. We were able to just decal them up. We had to purchase all of the lights, and they had to be fully operational because they would have a chase scene. So that meant that they had to be running, driving police cars. The lights had to work. Everything had to look like a police car, right down to the wheels and tires.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Okay, now correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we just read a letter how they're wanting the traveling overseer fund, publishers to put towards this traveling overseer fund to buy all the traveling overseers new cars? Okay, so they take 2 Bethel branch cars and decal them and buy lights and make them fully functional cop cars.
They had to spend the money, money that's dedicated to preaching.
Witnesses, do you see the hypocrisy here? They ask you to donate, what was it, $8-9 towards the Traveling Overseer Fund so they can get new cars, and here they're taking their branch cars and pimping them out to police cars?
Did everybody catch this brother's words? We have a warehouse. Now we know why Jehovah's Witnesses, Watchtower, and Babel Crap Society has been buying warehouses. They're going to be turning
movie sets.
All of these warehouses exactly.
Yep.
So now, Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm telling you, your days of going from door to door are done. What Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be known for is for producing movies that promote nothing but the Watchtower and Babel Crap Society.
Boy, they're getting more like the 700 Club every day.
Every day. And that's because the door-to-door work don't work anymore, does it? It's it's done. Because when people like Kim and I and everyone else that's on XJW forums, everyone else is doing YouTube videos, we're educating the population as to who and what Jehovah's Witnesses are. And the people behind the door, they're just not buying it anymore. They're just not.
No.
Nope. And I've got another video we're going to be doing later, and I'm going to be bringing that out even more.
Wow.
When you do actors in a car driving, you don't want them really driving. That could be very disastrous. So we actually had 2 neons.
One vehicle was rigged up to where it was actually being towed behind a pickup truck.
We had a camera position on the hood and a camera position on the side. So that was car number 1. We had to have a second car that we could see as it drove by. That couldn't have any of that on it. That was the one we crashed.
What?
Unbelievable.
This is the first time Mike has seen this actual behind-the-scenes video that Watchtower did.
We're actually building, we're actually doing this video as I'm watching what Watchtower put on the broadcast. So what you're seeing from me, I mean, even the last scene when I went, that was, I swear, I'm watching this for the very first time, and holy cow. So now you're telling me not only did you spend the money to trick out 2 police cars, you also spent the money to trick out 2 other vehicles, one that you can set up with all these expensive cameras, and wreck the second one. Hey, Jehovah's Witness is sitting in the Kingdom Hall. Do you see where your money's going? Do you see why your bank accounts are being cleaned out? To put together a production, even for this, 5-10 minute video, however long this piece of crap is now?
Well, it's the behind the scenes for the Prodigal Son video, which is like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Do you see where your money is going? Jehovah's Witnesses? Boy, what a snare and a racket. Boy, Rutherford had it right. Watchtower is the snare in the racket.
And you didn't have to actually crash the car. There's ways of doing that. And to crash a perfectly good car, I mean, it wasn't an old junker like what I drive. This was a newer vehicle. A circuit overseer could have used this car.
Exactly.
Instead of making the publishers pay for a new one. What a waste!
What a waste.
And
what
a
waste
joke.
of money, Watchtower.
And a joke.
Now I can understand why people are walking away. Now I can understand why bank accounts have to get cleaned out in the Kingdom Halls. Yeah. It's very expensive to do this type of production. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, we happen to have a friend who is in the movie business. And millions of dollars are spent on an hour-and-a-half movie.
I've even asked to be in too. It just didn't work out with my work schedule.
So there, the chase sequence finishes on all of these side streets around the J Street parking lot. We didn't want to put our two novice young Bethelites in any harm's way, of course. So we had to have a stunt driver, but we also had to have a dummy for David. So we actually had a dummy that was put into the car, the passenger seat, so that when the vehicle went around and crashed, it wasn't really our character David in the car.
Oh, this just keeps getting better and better. So now they had to hire a professional stunt driver. Witnesses, how much of your money did that cost?
I wonder if that was the same stunt driver they hired to get on that excavator in the Happy video when that excavator's doing this. Wow. Boy, watch Jehovah's Witnesses. Do you see how your money's getting flushed down the toilet?
Wow. You know, if I was a witness and donating,
I
heard this, it's like, oh my God.
This isn't what my money was dedicated to.
You know, the thousands and thousands of dollars that they're spending for each one of these things. Do you know how many Kingdom Halls you could be building for that? You know, you're begging for money to build Kingdom Halls?
I didn't think about that. You're right. The amount of money that they're spending on this production.
Do you know how many
build Kingdom Halls. My goodness.
Holy crap.
My goodness. What a snare and a racket. I'm going to say it again.
I think I need some tea now.
So sometimes when we're filming, it may take maybe several months to film one scene. So we have to make sure with continuity that everything matches. Like if our main character, their wardrobe, their hair, makeup, would all have to continue to be the same during a filming period.
Okay, I got my tea, and I like the tag here. It says, it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than absolutely boring. And guess who said that quote, Mikey? Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah. So Deep Throat, he says, and I forgot to read this during the last segment, but he says, we did not want to endanger our two young Bethelites, so we had to have a dummy in for David. He says, too bad Anthony Morris III, a.k.a. Tony Tightpants, wasn't available for the part of the dummy. Wow. And then this sister says, it may take several months to film one scene. And then Deep Throat says, wow, several months not spent preaching about the imminence of Armageddon. What if a JW took several months off to travel and photograph nature? Complete waste of time. Watchtower spends several months to film one scene in a lame-ass movie. Totally acceptable.
Wow.
So,
well,
Mikey's in shock.
I've got some comments. I don't know if I want to say them now or if I want to wait till the very, very end of this. Well, hell, I'll just say it now. Maybe they won't watch to the end of this. I don't know. What I see from a very realistic standpoint, you know, for several months, in fact, for the past couple of years, we're all wondering, wow, which direction is Watchtower going? You know, what is JW.org all about? Well, a lot of us have been speculating, well, they're going to take on a new identity, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and from what I look at this from a absolute business perspective. And what I see is that the board of directors is actually and absolutely setting JW.org to be a worldwide force to be reckoned with, not only in the film industry, but also in TV evangelism. Because look at it from the money end of all of this. If you're on a board of directors right now in Pennsylvania, you're thinking about, what can I leave behind for my grandchildren as a legacy? Oh, I know. All of these movie sets, all of the TV evangelism. Look at it from the money perspective. They've already fleeced the congregations. That tit is running dry, people. There is nothing left in the congregations. They're already taking all that money. So how do you keep your organization alive 25, 30, 40, 50 years from now? Movie production. Entertainment. TV evangelism. Because when you watch a TV evangelistic show like, I don't know, say the 700 Club, it's always send in your donations. And send in your donations. And people will continue to send in their donations. Think about it. Analyze it. That's the only, as far as I'm concerned, that's the only logical conclusion, is that they're setting JW.org up, not for themselves, but for the board of directors 20, 30 years from now. When we're all dead and gone and nobody's going to believe our bullshit no more. But they're going to absolutely swallow Watchtowers all over again.
Yeah. So, oh boy.
An interesting experience happened when one of the police officers who works with the film unit in New York City, works with big movies for 20 years.
He drove up where our cars were, and when he got out of his police car, he said, "Why is another precinct here? This was our job this evening." And I remarked to him, I said, that's our cars for the scene this evening. And he was very impressed because he said the cars looked very real, and we did a very good job in putting the vehicles together.
Now he sees how well dressed we are in safety vests and everything. He came up to us and said, "You know, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never seen a crew as professional as you." And I thought that was a pretty neat compliment. Coming from a worldly police officer who works with professional movie crews, they looked at our inexperienced crew and thought it was the most professional.
Interesting. Now this is for a message for our friend Matthew.
Did you catch the Freudian slip? Worldly police officer?
But it really goes to show you how Jehovah's Spirit can bring people together and get something done that could not otherwise get done. One of the most powerful moments in The Prodigal is when David hits rock bottom. He lost everything, and he breaks down, and he prays to Jehovah. We needed a location, and we needed a mood that would really make this a powerful scene. Where could he go after he left Taylor's that would be a place where he would be secluded and able to just break down in front of Jehovah? And we looked, we scouted different locations. One worked here, but there was too much noise from traffic. Another place, it didn't work out because we couldn't get the equipment to it. But we finally found an alley that worked right on Watchtower property.
So let me get this right. It was Jehovah's Spirit that got all of this crew together? So what about Hollywood? They've been doing this for over 100 years. Does Jehovah's Spirit help them do all of this? And Deep Throat says basically the same thing.
So, when they were looking for a location for David's breakdown, it really made me think. Because here you've got this prodigal son breaking down, crying to Jehovah, praying to Jehovah. Well, let me demonstrate how ridiculous this is to me. You all know that this is the beast. This is Mikey's breakdown. Oh, Jehovah, how could I ever come back to you knowing that the governing body sends letters to the kingdom halls and manipulates the minds of the elders? How could I ever come back knowing that when there's one letter, one page to a letter being read, and the elders are secretly obeying the hidden three? Oh, Jehovah, how could I ever come back knowing that elders' letters hide pedophiles. How could I ever come back knowing that back in the 60s, blood fractions were breaking your law, and now blood fractions are acceptable? See how ridiculous it becomes, Jehovah's Witnesses? Do you see how easily you can be manipulated? Kim and I have the beast. We've got everything. Every secret letter ever written to body of elders. How could anybody ever come back knowing what's in this volume of information? It's a freaking joke, Jehovah's Witnesses. How easily we've all been manipulated, including myself, for 42 years.
Well, Shyla, the kids were out here yesterday for lunch, and, you know, Shyla's taking the sociology classes, and she was just telling me how they're learning how easy it is to manipulate someone's mind.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh my God. She was even, you know, talking about how they can falsely implant, you know, certain things in people's minds. There was a woman that went to see a therapist, and by the time she was done with this therapist, she had been in a satanic cult, eating babies, you know, and all these other horrible things. Well, she ended up suing that therapist, and it took a real therapist years to, you know, fix what this one had done.
Deprogram it.
But she won over $4 million from this bad therapist. So that's how easy it is, especially one who's been trained to manipulate the mind.
And trust me, Jehovah's Witnesses, your governing body and the ruling power at Pennsylvania, they know all these techniques.
Yeah.
So it only takes a few minutes to watch. Actually took several weeks to produce.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. Didn't they say earlier in this video that a few-minute scene could take months to record? And now this guy is saying weeks? What is it? Where's their continuity?
Looks like they lost their continuity. But you know, when you really look at the amount of time that it takes to make a production of this quality, because it's not just the actors, it's not just retaking the scene to get it exactly right. It's not just making sure that, you know, the rain and the emotions are perfect for the camera. It's, you know, editing, putting it together, the time it takes to burn DVDs.
Post-production, that takes longer than doing the actual video.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know.
Let's look at a statistic from the 2014 yearbook. Grand totals, 239 lands. Total hours spent in the field ministry, 841 million, 180,235. Take a look at the grand totals of 2015. 239 lands. 1,945,487,604. So that comes out to be about 1.4 million hours more in 2015 than they had in 2014. Now, the amount of time that this production has taken to make this movie, you know all them people are just barely getting the minimal hours in field service.
If any.
The numbers aren't adding up when you realize in just Kim and I's little neck of the woods, since November of 2014, this many people have left Watchtower. Now that doesn't include Kim and I, because we're not on the nail in the coffin.
Doesn't include all the ones that we know that have left that aren't disfellowshipped or disassociated yet.
Yeah, so I don't understand how they could end up with less people in the Kingdom Halls, but more hours in the total preaching activity, unless, Watchtower, you're counting all of those hours involved making your productions as part of your sacred service to Jehovah. That's the only way, because you're talking 1.4 million hours approximately. That's a lot of hours.
Well, I'm sure the governing body counts their time for doing these broadcasting shows.
Well,
and
that's,
we know from personal experience, when you were on regular pioneering,
building,
when you build Kingdom Halls in the RBC, that you can count that time as well.
And if you're a public speaker, you can count that time on Sunday, giving your public talk.
You can also, if you're servant, go on shepherding calls, you can also count that time.
Yep. So, the numbers don't lie, Watchtower. I don't know how you can come up with 1.4 million hours when I can prove there's a whole lot of people leaving Watchtower.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe their numbers anyway.
No, I don't think anybody does anymore.
Then all of these hours and hours of footage is given to post-production, where the editor has to go through this footage and create the story to produce the final result.
After the video is edited, we take the final English script, the final menus and on-screen text, and we provide that to the branches. And then they take all of that material and they translate it into their language.
Bakit mo ba binibilisan? Matatakasan pa natin yan.
Ukuanan tena.
Iwo, kumbanamnya kwan poki raises.
Джонгананы погода погамаки.
Идиотизм какой-то. Что ты? Давай уже останавливайся. Да что за телега?
It's always exciting when we finally get that DVD at the convention, and we think this is not only being provided to us, but it's being provided to brothers and sisters around the world in their language.
This is Jehovah's work. And even though each one of us can lend our specific abilities and skills to the project, it's really Jehovah that accomplishes the work.
We see all of these people come together with all sorts of different levels of experience, and somehow we end up with something that's going to actually help save people's lives.
Sometimes you're asked to do something that seems completely impossible. Something that you feel like can never be done in a very short time is in front of you on a movie screen, teaching millions of people and moving their hearts.
So there you have the video and our comments. And
not only is it moving their hearts, what else is it moving, Kim?
Their feet out
That's
the
why
door.
your Kingdom Halls are being emptied. In fact, we ended up talking with a friend on the phone here just a couple nights ago, and his family member that's still inside a Watchtower was questioning why their Kingdom Hall, or why Watchtower is building so many Kingdom Halls when their Kingdom Hall isn't even half full.
Yeah, they did some readjusting of congregations and stuff like that, and they're trying to figure out why they, have so many congregations. They said, where are all the people? This Kingdom Hall isn't even half full. So why are they building more Kingdom Halls and need more Kingdom Halls when they can't even fill up the ones they have?
And I'll tell you why. Because they're leaving something behind for the next generation to work with. These Kingdom Halls that now look like banks and have pretty little windows. So now you can be distracted as you look outdoors and, you hear the sirens going by, then you look and watch the car, and then you miss what's in the public talk. Watchtower doesn't care about spirituality. Watchtower only cares about the money and the longevity of this organization.
Now, which reminds me, watching this video, and they show, the Bethelites that were in this movie. It reminds me of something that my sister had told me years ago. Do you happen to remember? In Colorado, there was a brother that had, I believe it was a car lot.
He
sold cars.
Used car lot.
Yeah. He started making commercials and showing these on TV.
Right, and his face was in front of the camera.
Okay. He kept asking brothers why he wasn't being appointed. You know what they told him? Because you're on TV. Your face is in front of the camera. Okay.
What that has to do with appointing a brother as an elder, but it shows how the elders in a congregation can interpret what Watchtower says one thing. We can't appoint you an elder because you become too much of a public figure. I wonder if this brother, the prodigal son, moved to the same congregation in Colorado how quickly they would absolutely appoint him as an elder because he's had his face in front of a Watchtower camera.
Yeah.
Hypocrisy. Every way, everywhere you turn, it's hypocrisy.
Yeah, exactly. And we were just on a forum this morning looking for something else, and we happened to come across someone making the comment. It's like, someone had said, can you be disfellowshipped for not showing up for your elders meeting? Yeah, us. See, and this is why we have to keep this stuff and keep repeating it and have it out there. You know, Eric of JW Struggle did the story of how to disfellowship 2 people with 0 proof.
That's about almost 2 years ago now?
Yeah, about 2 years ago.
How time flies.
So we need to keep, you know, these videos and keep circulating and keep, so, you know, several helped this brother's like, yeah, you can be disfellowshipped for not showing up at your meeting. Well, one sister said that she was disfellowshipped for being at a witness picnic, I guess, or congregation picnic or something, and was disfellowshipped for improperly eating a hot dog. Now, I don't know what she was doing with the hot dog, but really? You didn't think public reproof or private reproof would be enough? You had to disfellowship her for improperly eating a hot dog? How does that look on your little slip of paper that you send to Watchtower? Oh, we had to disfellowship a sister because she was improperly eating a hot dog. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it just shows how ridiculous this all becomes. There is no continuity within this organization. They say, well, we have to watch these scenes to make sure there's continuity. Why aren't you watching your bodies of elders and making sure that there's just as much continuity in them to the rank and file as you put into putting together a production like this? My goodness.
So even if this sister was doing something obscene with the hot dog, you know, in her mouth,
publicly reprove her. You don't have to disfellowship her.
Really?
My God.
Really. And obviously, witnesses do not have a sense of humor.
Oh, yeah. So anyhow, just thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching this long rant.
We'll go on to another one, I guess, huh?
We have more Ask the Elders.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.